All right, all right, hey everyone. This is Josh J.C. Alfelto for the Writer's Lens, and welcome back. And today is a little bit of a break in the norm for me, as I've brought on a few special guests, very special guests, in the form of Willie and Rachel Scott. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Willie and Rachel are the co-founders of the Better Than Blended ministry here in Northeast Ohio. And they are also fellow authors, which is exactly why I twisted their arm and I said, hey, I want you on my podcast. So if you're tuning in via audio only, there was proof that I'm not a liar and there's actually other people on this. And if you're also checking in via the video, you'll be able to see them too. So, hey, guys, what's going on? So in a short, maybe 30-second, even a minute breakdown, what is Better Than Blended? If you could sum it up for me.
I'm gonna let my wife hop in because she has the elevator pitch down. I'm still working on the elevator pitch, so.
Okay.
Well, Better Than Blended is an organization that provides resources, support, and community to blended families. Mm-hmm. So our goal is that families would get to experience unity and oneness as they go through their blended family journey.
Nice. And this is a lot of this, like the stuff that you guys have done, I've been reading through on your website, is much of what I've been talking about on my own podcast, about finding a passion, finding a calling, and wanting to help others.
Right.
So you guys are kind of like the really cool culmination of all this stuff that I've been doing. I mean, it kind of worked out that way, which was awesome. So, and because of the fact that we are authors, I wanted to share the quick story, like how we got connected, which was about a year ago now. And it was at was it called Meet the Authors, I believe? It was a Meet the Authors event?
I think so.
Yeah, it was Meet the Authors. So, quick story then, Willie and Rachel were at Meet the Authors at the Cuyahoga County Library in Parma. I believe it was Parma.
Yeah.
And a little bit of shameless self-promotion on my own part. I believe your son came over to my booth and showing some interest.
Right.
Showed some interest in my book, The Road to Mars, and I think Willie came wandering over and he's like, "Who is this guy you're talking to? What's going on?" And we kind of had exchanged information, and said what we were doing, and we said, "Hey, let's keep in touch. Let's just keep in touch and everything." And we have, and I've been following just a lot of what you guys have been doing online via Facebook, and I love what you guys do. So this is really cool for me to be interviewing you. But yeah, so all that being said, and now here we are, I'm able to interview you guys and just kind of talk a bit about not just your writing, but just also what the whole Better Than Blended platform is. How did you guys meet, since this is kind of like the crux of everything? How did you guys actually get together since you started this?
So we actually met at our best friend's house.
Right.
And we were writing songs. So I guess we've kind of always been kind of writers at heart. But before we were just writing songs together. So we actually wrote a song together, not songs together. But we wrote a song together. And that's how we met, in the studio at one of our friends' house, writing a song together.
Okay.
That we actually used as the, what is that, at the wedding.
It was really, I want to
we
say.
gave it away at the wedding.
Right. It was an
awesome song.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was it? Okay, so what was the whole song that you guys were writing together? I mean, as far as, or do you guys do you want to share it at all, or I'm just curious?
No, I don't mind. I just gotta remember.
The song was really, I want to say prophetic is the word I want to use, because actually the song was the first verse was talking about me. Well, it really wasn't talking about me because I didn't write it talking about me. I just wrote the first verse. She wrote the second verse, and then we wrote a hook. And what we didn't know is that the first verse really told my story, and the second verse told her story of her journey. And yeah.
And then the hook really collided us like together, but we didn't realize that's what was happening.
Right.
It was like literally writing out our destiny is how we kind of put it. We didn't realize that's what was happening. We just like, hi, nice to meet you, wrote a song together and left.
Right.
That's incredibly romantic. I'm very jealous.
I think so too.
My wife and I met on Match.com. That's how we met. So
that's romantic too.
Yeah,
it works out either way.
It totally did. I had to use my writing skills, obviously, because I had to send a really cool email that showed her how cool I was.
So. Exactly.
And now Match.com has to pay for advertisement.
See, all these things I think of in hindsight, Willie. You're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. So you guys meet. So then, what actually sparked all this idea for doing Better Than Blended, and eventually, obviously, writing the book?
But this initially started with the initial start was with my wife. She just had a passion to see families, like she wanted to do something for families and women, mothers in general, as far as just encouraging them and really pour into them. And I just really played the background. That was what my role was setting up the website. The little that I knew at the time was setting up the website and and doing some of the graphic design tweaks and really just playing it behind the scenes. And she was the front runner of it.
Wow, so you did the website. You did the website then, Willie?
Well, I didn't. The website we have
the
now,
original
the original
website.
website.
I was gonna say, man, that's a nice website. I was like, wow, that's very impressive.
That's what we have now.
Yeah, somebody. We actually hired some people to help us out with this. So, but the very first one that we had set up was I think it was still decent, but it was nowhere near what we have now. But
it was a very good starter upper website.
Starter upper.
But then someone gave us a suggestion that we really needed to do it together because people wanted to hear both perspectives. And a lot of other people that were doing it were kind of just doing it individually. And so we both had a perspective, and that's when we just decided, like, it does make sense for us to do this together instead of separately, so we can really speak to that.
Right.
Yeah, no kidding. That's really cool. How does that work then, I guess, the two of you working together as spouses? I was curious to ask this question when we connected earlier this week as to how does the coworker, my wife, my husband is my coworker, my co-CEO, my co-CFO. How does that dynamic play out for you guys?
I'm gonna just premise it by saying that it's a work in progress.
Really?
So we're still writing the book right now, but we've come a long way from where we were before, though. And now I'm gonna let you jump in.
I would have to definitely agree with him. It's not something overnight. It's just like working with anyone else. You have your ideas, and some of them get accepted, some of them get rejected.
Oh, wow.
I think the biggest thing is just that we're working on is understanding each other's schedule. Like when are you most creative? When am I most creative? When do we need to come together and work through all the different dynamics of making the business operate? And so I think that it's fun. Like I think that I can say that we both definitely enjoy the experience more than working for someone else. It's something that makes us so much closer than we've ever been because we're a part of each other's life, like, all day. And that would seem overwhelming, but we come in and out. So, as a writer, that some of the best places to write is the library. That's where we get our most creativity, and that's where we kind of go away. So we chunk our lives off or chunk our day off where, okay, you today you go to the library, today I'll do this. And so we kind of schedule things out, and that helps. It's when the schedule gets thrown off that we kind of deal with a little friction, just a little bit.
I would say in the beginning, Josh, I would say when we both were working full time and doing Better Than Blended, it was a little different. It actually took off once we because we both not doing Better Than Blended full time. It took off like crazy as far as just the growth in it from once we both left the job. But when we both were at work and we were taking time working on different things and had task schedules, it seemed like it worked a little bit better. But then once we both were home, it's like we see each other every day. I love it, and I love spending time with her so much. But sometimes we can drive each other crazy, and then especially when it comes to, I'm an idea guy, so I'm constantly, even like when we talked the other night, going to dinner. You said when you go to dinner, do you talk about business or don't you talk about business? Yeah. So she was like, was this a date or is this a business date? Like, are we
I need to go in.
Or are we having a date?
You're like, do I bill these hours in?
Or are we talking business?
That's really interesting. I mean, my wife and I, when it comes to that whole dynamic, I mean, obviously my platform is my own, so I do my own thing as far as being a writer. But it's interesting how it's been really cool for me to invite her into this whole process. I mean, just having her kind of, she's not like into writing, which is funny because she's she's not like, she reads and everything, but she's more the math minded of the two of us. And she has such a 10,000-foot view of things at times that it just makes sense for me. Like, oh man, I can't think of what to do with this next chapter, or what I want to do with this next idea, or wherever I'm going with it. And it just dawns on me, why don't I just bounce off her? And she just kind of comes up with this, well, why didn't you think of this? And I go, duh. I go, thank you for that. So I totally see how that can be just a major benefit to have, you know, that person there that can kind of, you know, like you were saying, Willie, you're the idea guy, and you're kind of running with things, and probably Rachel has to pull you back in and say, hey, come back down to earth. You know, that's not very practical, right? That's not as practical as you're thinking it sounds, or maybe we need to, you know, logistically figure out some other things. So I can totally relate to that, but it must be a little bit different though, having your spouse be your advocate as well. So that's cool.
It is.
In terms of writing the book itself, now the book was published in, what was it, 2015, or was it?
The book was the better.
Yes, like, so officially, I think it was 2015.
2015. So how long did it actually take you guys to write that and put all the material together?
Truthfully, so what?
Well, that's what I would like, is the truth, right?
Right. Truthfully.
Well, we got married in 2011, so the writing process really started.
Right.
No pen went to paper in 2011, but the process started in 2011.
I would say, so what we ended up doing was we have an editor that we work with, and so really it was more of a deadline set for her. So I had this date set, and in my mind, I was like, well, we can move the date around some. But when we talked to her, it was a strict date, like, because she had other work that she needed to edit. So we really hadn't put any pen to the paper, and honestly, we probably wrote that book in, like, one of our close friends came over who does like curriculum development. Right. And she was just like, okay, guys, we sat down at the table, and she kind of like typed out some things for us to get our wheels turning. And then after she did that, we sat down, and within maybe 2 to 3 weeks, we had it to give to the editor. And then the editor sent it back to us and really pulled the rest of it out. And then we went from there. So it was probably very fast based on the fact that we knew we had this timeline. And, you know, I don't know. I work better under pressure. Some people, like, they need this long timeline. I'm like, it's too much time. So between working better under pressure, I don't know how you felt about the pressure, but I was like, this is what I did into high school. Like, this is what I did in college. It's pressure. I can work
cram that out. We got to cram that in right now. Test is on Friday. It's Thursday night. It's 10 o'clock. Let's go. That's
right. So I feel like that's how that happened, is we definitely, maybe it was my ability to work well under pressure. And he's quick on his feet too, so he's looking over stuff, and it got done.
Right.
Wow, that's impressive, guys. In my book, now the big book that I did recently, my novel, it took me 9 months to write the first draft, and then that was on top of working full time. And and then it was another 6 months, I'd say, of editing, and a lot of that was me, and then asking my fellow writers, the writers group that I'm a part of here in Cleveland, just to kind of look over some things. I sent it off to an editor who happens to be my aunt, who has her own book published, has her own platform. She was a teacher for 37 years. Yeah, she's really something else. And so I was very fortunate to have a lot of people that were able to kind of push me along in that editing process too. But man, you guys really, you upped the ante. I'll tell you what, getting that thing done. So that's really impressive. Is there anything, as far as when you got it published, aside from the deadline that seemed like it was very quick, you know, or whatnot, was there anything that you felt like you learned big time from it, or like things you would have done differently, or was there anything you
I think one of the harder parts that we experienced that took more time than we thought was finding a good graphic designer. Because we wanted someone, we knew we weren't just doing a one and done book, so we wanted someone that we could continue to work with, which we did end up finding. But I feel like that was probably one of the hardest parts. Coming to just that first book design that we liked, and we could see ourselves continue to work with the graphic designer. Right.
Because we went through quite a bit of designs, and we went through a lot of good designs, and then the one that we actually went with was the one that stood out from all of the other ones. And it was just really unique. We really liked the designer. We actually went in like, oh wow, this is different. It wasn't what we were thinking, but it's different. So then we went to his site, looked through his catalog of stuff that he's done in the past and for other people, and just like, oh, you know what, we really could. Right, I could see us working with him for a long period of time. So,
well, that took the longest to me was that.
Well, the interesting thing is, like, whenever you write a book, the content, I feel like, is always the easiest part. You know, having your own content and saying, this is exactly what I know I want to write about. This is the message I want to convey. You may be an outliner, you may be by a seat of the pants writer or whatever that may be. But then all the peripherals, all the things that come outside of that can be very, very frustrating. You know, so finding
the part where I feel like working with my spouse makes it wonderful because it's like, just honestly, like, I probably do more of the writing, but he does all the other stuff that I cannot stand, like the reading it 50 times, like finding the graphic designer. I'm like, I don't want to read it anymore.
Right. You just feel like you're going cross-eyed after a while. I mean, it's the editing is easily the one of the most grueling parts of writing a book. Absolutely. I mean, because and especially after you write it the first time, you're always going, man, this has got to be the best I got. I mean, this has got to be it. I don't have to read this 2-3 times. Oh, yes, I probably should. I probably should read it. So you're more the writer then between the two of you and everything. So cool.
Right.
I'm more the writer, and he does all the double checking 50 times, and but what we do is we talk through the ideas together.
Right.
And I'm just a little bit better at putting it like to the paper most of the time, and really bringing out all the details that need to go into it. But the ideas are like so us all day, and if I'm missing an idea, or because he's the idea man, so because of all the grand ideas, and I'm like, oh yeah, that should go in there. Oh yeah, we didn't forget the bad idea. Forget to talk about that. So
cool. That's right. That's awesome.
She's a really good writer, man. I just have to say that she is really, really well. So because I'll type an email. I just put it in the drafts, and I'll say, check the email. I know you're gonna change it, but here's a start. Get us started off, and then she go in there and makes it sound like I actually am personal.
I'm growing.
Because I'll get in there and type an email, and it'll be just straight, to the point, task, boom, 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 and then she puts the extra touch on it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was probably my hardest part, was finding somebody that could put the finishing touches on it once I was done. Was there somebody that could look at it and go, this is what I want it to look like, or you're trying to emulate this person. Well, you should probably try this again. So and it's always hard eating it if like someone says something that you know is right, but you don't want to do it because it's like, hey, it's mine. that's mine. So don't touch it. Don't touch it. That's right.
Right.
Got to swallow some pride there, I guess, but. But so then you guys wrote the book, and then what were some of the things that you thought about as far as getting the word out? As far as getting the book out in the hands of whoever your target audience would be. Obviously, families perhaps that were going through similar circumstances, things like that. What were some tactics or even marketing, ideas you came up with, stuff like that? Like, what did you do?
Well, I know when we first initially thought of the book. Our mindset was more geared towards step families, just because that's what we were. And somebody had mentioned to us, we had took him the book, and he had looked at it, and he said, well, why you guys have step family on there? You should take it out. And we were kind of locked into that. We were like, well, I don't know. We want people to be able to identify what the book is, so that those that pick it up will know it's for them. But over the course of time, what we've identified is that blended families are way grander. It's grander than just step family. It's more than just a stepmom and stepdad. It goes out into adoption, foster care, interracial couples, cultural differences, just different things of that nature. So we saw that this book can touch many more people than who we actually intended for initially to touch. So, and then from a marketing standpoint, she handles a lot of the like our Facebook marketing, so she kind of got that part down really well.
I would say the marketing is like a constant learning and growing, because who we thought was our audience, as we began to interact with our audience more, we realized, okay, well, maybe our audience isn't this age group, maybe it's more of this age group. And so I think that it's a constant growth thing, but social media has been huge and just really zeroing in on who our audience is and then trying to find where they're at. Because there was a time where we would just go to any conference just to get the word out. But now, since we understand our audience, we understand not only who the audience is, but who's connected to the audience. Right. Then it helps us to know what we need to be a part of. So, for example, you know, blended families, a lot of blended families, a lot of people are connected to counselors and therapists. Well, why don't we connect to the people that are connected to them? You know, and so that's one thing that we're doing is getting connected to people that are connected to counselors, therapists, attorneys. A lot of people go through court trials and things. Wow. So all of those things is knowing who our audience is allows us to know who to go to get connected with our audience, even if we can't go directly to them. Wow, so we find ways to go directly to them or connect to them from the outside.
That's really great. Yeah, I mean, I think most writers and authors of books would probably agree that when you think of your target audience, you picture that person sitting in a chair, drinking coffee, reading your book, and you may not be considering, well, where do they go during their day? You know, how are they going to get this in their hands, and how are they going to actually be interested, you know, in whatever it is that you've done. So I commend you guys. That's actually really impressive. To think about doing it in that direction is just really impressive. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. How have your kids felt about all this? Being involved in that? Yeah, go ahead.
They love it. They're ready to be they're already a part of it, but they want to be a part of the growth of the actual business of it. Yeah. They enjoy it. Our little one, our 2-year-old, is like, better than blended, and he can barely say any words, but he can say that.
I've seen him on Willie's videos, so yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. we just recently getting our YouTube channel together, and so we started and uploaded a couple videos. And my daughter, 2 daughters, they started their own YouTube video that my wife kind of pushing them towards, called Jesus, Cupcakes, and Rainbows. Oh, and so we uploaded it to our Better Than Blended YouTube page channel. But then my son, he has his own YouTube channel that he's working on too. He came to me a couple weeks ago and was like, well, why is Dominique and Gabby's their channel on Better Than Blended? Why isn't mine on Better Than Blended too? So,
I didn't know you said that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So they all kind of want to have something to do with it, even if it's in the background. Like we literally sat down and had meetings with them and said, you know, hey, we see this is your strength. Can you help us with this? Because even if you don't want to be a part of Better Than Blended, then you can help us hire in somebody that's strong in that area, because over the years you've developed that as your strength. Right. So we've kind of just brought them into the business, and we try to meet with them like once. We had our first meeting this year, and I think we had 2 this year with them to just really, we let them know what's going on. And right now they're not as active because they have a lot of other things going on, but we still want them we're constantly like letting them know, here's what we're doing, here's what we've done, like literally having a business meeting with them. So
we have to, we pulled them in too to let them know that this is something that you guys will take charge of, hopefully in your lifetime, if that's what you choose to do. But this is something that we're setting up, not for us. It's not for us. It's to bless other families, but also it's to leave something for our children, like a legacy for them. So we would hope they want to carry it on and to continue pouring into other families. So
that's really awesome, guys. That's really cool. Yeah, I was curious how that kind of worked out with you guys, as far as, because it is, that is your ministry, that is your work. So that's really cool. That's actually really cool. I just had to digest that for a moment. That's really cool. I'm just thinking of my own 2-year-old and my 10-month-old right now who are sleeping. Praise God. But there's just the reaction of having Daddy and everything doing the work around the house and stuff like that. Being a part of that would be really cool. Yeah. How have you guys then? Obviously we've been talking about a lot of the highs and things like that. What about like anything about as far as bumps in the road, things you've learned from since starting this venture together? Is there anything I guess you'd want to share? Or?
I would say that one of the things we learned is that in order to share with people a journey, you have to actually go through it.
Right.
And so I think that there have been some bumps in the road of just trying to experience some of the things that it was going to take for us to be able to give people wisdom in the area. It's been challenging. It really has been challenging because we've had to go through a lot of the process of what does it actually look like? What are some of the struggles a blended family goes through? And then how do you overcome those? Like, how do you overcome those? And how do you allow yourself to grow through those or not beat yourself up when everything doesn't come out the way that you intended for it?
Right.
So just the journey in itself of becoming better than blended has been a journey.
Right. Yeah. I think that was one of the big hugest bumps was once we got our mind wrapped around start looking at situations as what we're supposed to take out of it, even though it's still rough going through it, but that gives you hope hope in it, because now you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, hold on, like this is not just for nothing. There's a reason behind this, so let's figure this out so that we can graduate and get out of this season.
And of course, he's a guy, so he's a little better at it than me. I'm like, what is this happening for?
That's awesome.
So it works out, and then I get to write about it.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel it as well. It's like you said, going through the journey, in order to actually help somebody, you kind of have to walk that path first, and be able to share that with someone else. I mean, as far as whenever I run into other fellow writers, authors, just any other event I go to, and I talk to somebody who's just starting out, and they come to me and they, well, how long have you been doing this? And I say, well, I've been writing for about 5-6 years, to be honest. I mean, that's what I've been doing, writing a couple different books. Oh man, well, what's that been like? And I say, well, pull up a chair.
Right.
I'll tell you all about it. Actually, it's been challenging, but man, there's just a lot of good stuff to share there. So that's really cool. Do you guys then? And this is kind of a question too. I was really kind of eager to ask you. Do you feel any pressure as far as being a married couple that has a business that has a platform like this? Do you feel any kind of pressure with it at all, or is it just like, hey, this is what we know we're supposed to be doing? Or, I mean, does that make sense?
I mean, I think that there is definitely pressure when it comes to maintaining a, I don't want to say an image, but constantly being aware of the influence that we currently have and where we're trying to go, and not allowing it to kind of make us be cookie cutter, so to speak, where, okay, the kids have to act this way. That perfectionist mentality, like I know that I somewhat struggle with this, so I'm always but he keeps me in balance with that and keeps me aware of it. But I think that there is a pressure because in the back of our minds, we know the ability for this to grow, but we also know that it's shaped and it's formed through our experiences and our pain. Yeah. So knowing what to share and what to expose as part of our journey, what is all of that can be challenging. And there's definitely a level of pressure connected to it.
Right. And then I would just add to that just a practical sense of dressing. I mean, making sure we're dressed nice or appropriately in a sense of, like me, for instance, you ask some of our friends, they'll be like, your wife must have got you dressed, or she's upgraded you so, like, because I'll have on a jacket, a t-shirt, it'd be some jeans with a hole in the leg.
And that'll be the day we'll meet someone, and they're like, "Girl, who?"
And I just throw it on to get out, because I came from a job where every day I wore slacks, a shirt, and tie, and it was even to the point where some of the stuff that I wore was maybe in a little baggier or whatever, but like she's really upgraded me in that area. But it also has made me pay attention.
There's no shame on that, Willie. There's no shame.
Right. I love it now, but it brought me to the reality of knowing that when we walk out the door, that we do need to be presentable, because we never know who we may run into. That may need either help from us, and depending on how we're presented, they will either be like, "Oh, I don't know if I want any help from you," or they may actually come to us and say, "Hey, I think that you guys look like you have some authority in this area." Yeah. And it's all about presentation in some cases. Right. People think that it's not, but presentation plays a big role.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember seeing some pictures you had on Facebook a while back where you were putting like little notes around the house. And I love that, man. I think that's really cool. It kind of gave me some ideas actually for my own home. Yeah. Whenever my kids get a little bit older and they can read a little bit better. Right now, my 2-year-old thinks he can read. He can't.
Right.
That's our 2-year-old. We're still working on colors as it is right now. Like, is that red or blue, right? So yeah, I thought that was really cool. So So yeah, just keep that up, guys. I find that to be very encouraging and very inspiring, as to what you're doing. One of the last things I want to do, as we're starting to wrap this up a little bit, is was there anybody, I guess, as far as a mentor to you guys that you wanted to give a shout out to, or like someone that really spoke into your life as far as wanting to do something like this? Was there anybody that really inspired you, or?
I love this question because no,
really.
No, like
What?
we've had like virtual mentors,
Yeah.
but literally no one. And we were looking for someone. We're like, somebody, please help us. Like,
I'm telling you, literally, she was looking for books. And,
like
and
no one. I would say our mentor was God. Like that's literally how we get all our download and know next steps and divine connections, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no one, and it literally was like a whole season where I was looking, and anybody that came across, I'm like, are you the one? Are you the one? Are you the one? You're not the one. But it's awesome because it's built in us this desire to want to be mentors to other people because we lacked it.
Right.
And although we felt like we could have, we lacked that personal touch, that personal, hey, let's sit down and talk. Let's help you through that. So it's a passion of ours now to see other people with visions that are like, sure, however we can help. I mean, we're only this far into the process, but whatever we can do, we'll help with. Because we had no one. I know that shocked you because I was like, I wish I could say a name. I'm like, this question is awesome. No.
Well, I'm glad I asked it then. Because...
But it's encouraging to people to know, like, you may not find a mentor in the process, but continue going, continue moving forward, and you will get direction and you'll get divine connection, and all of those things will happen if you're on purpose.
Right. Sometimes, and you said this, sometimes you may not find the mentor in the form that you're looking for it because you're called to be the mentor. So you have to go through the trenches.
You gotta go through the bumps.
Yeah, and the bumps, just so you can be that of what you needed. So
that's a great point. That's a really great point. Yeah, I think of virtual mentors for me, and they're probably just my favorite authors. I mean, the guys the guys I've really enjoyed reading over the years, I go, man, I really want to write like those guys.
Yeah.
And I may never meet them, or whatnot, but they've spoken into my life in some way just by the way that they've touched me and said, hey, man, I want to be able to write like them.
Yes.
So I'm really glad I asked that question then, because that was one of my last questions for you guys was, man, I wonder if they want to give a shout out to somebody. Hey, there's nobody. Nobody in particular anyway.
I will say this. I want to say, and I'm going to give a couple names. Francis Chan. And Francis Chan was, especially when it came to faith, because this was a faith move for us stepping out. So he was huge. He was big in building us up in that area.
Lisa Turkhurst is huge for me because her writing was just so real and authentic that it helped me to get out of my perfectionist writing and just write freely.
And I would say both of us, Miles Monroe, love his teachings, and I really like Craig Rochelle as far as just the leadership aspect of it. It was really awesome.
So those are some of the virtual ones.
Yeah, we have quite a few, but those are there's a couple.
Awesome guys. So all things considered, I'll just kind of bringing this back around. Are you guys going to any events anytime soon, or is there anything you wanted to kind of, I guess, tout about Better Than Blended, or what you guys are up to, or anything like that?
Well, we are going to the American Association of Christian Counselors Conference at the end of September. We'll be doing a book signing there, and we will be getting to share Better Than Blended with counselors, therapists, psychiatrists, and other people that are going to be there. Again, finding those people and going to where they're at. And we're actually launching. Well, I guess we did a revised edition to the Better Than Blended workbook to make it a little bit more, I guess I could say the word universal. So now we have a faith-based one and a general edition for people that may be married to like an unbeliever or someone that doesn't believe the same faith, where we still keep a lot of the principles, but we make it a little bit more fluid for them to understand. And the foreword was done by Mark Tim, who's the CEO of Ziegler Family. So that's amazing. And we're actually going to be launching it on September 26th. Is when we'll launch it, when we're actually at the event out there. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Wow, that's a lot of cool stuff to be looking forward to. I'll tell you that. Wow. Very cool. Am I one of the first ones to hear about this or no?
Yes, you are. You absolutely are.
All right. Excellent.
We're sending an email out tomorrow.
Oh.
Right.
That's awesome. Awesome. Cool. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, you guys, having you on my podcast and everything. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for taking the time and everything. And I look forward to catching up with you guys soon as well, and just wish you the best of luck in the future endeavors with Better Than Blended. So, all right.
Thank you. We love being on here. Thank you for having us.
I was just about to say, let's do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. Absolutely. All right. Thanks, guys.
Right.
All right. Thanks.